Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So hype right now.
I'm John Karalis. I cover the Boston Celtics for Boston Sports Journal, and I am the author of the Boston Celtics All-Time All-Stars, a book now available at booksellers everywhere, and if you want a signed copy on my website, johnkaralis.com. The regular season is over. Thank God. Put that thing to bed. I don't want to see or hear about this damn regular season anymore. Celtics finished 36-36. 500 team, because of course. But yeah, it makes sense. This is about right for the Celtics to be a 500 team, considering how the season went. A win over Minnesota to wrap up the season, a loss to New York back-to-back there over Saturday and Sunday. I'm not going to talk a whole lot in depth about those games because why? There's no bearing whatsoever on anything. There's nothing to take from those games. Those guys, some of those guys played well, but what do you want to know about, these guys' performances? The one question that I think we can answer here is that no one really did anything to separate themselves in those two games that made it so Brad has to consider playoff minutes for anybody. So that's, if you want one takeaway that takes you into the into the playoffs or the play-in tournament, it's that no one stood out to a point where it's like, whoa, that guy's got to play. It was basically the same type of stuff. So I'll talk about the end of the season here in the first segment. And then in the second segment, a little something different today because it's the end of the season. And, I've got different options here. In the second segment, it's going to be a conversation with the Locked On Wizards host. 5 things that you need to know about the Washington Wizards. The Celtics play the Wizards on Tuesday night. So I figure this will be a good time to get things that you want to pay more attention to the Wizards. That's going to be coming up in segment 2. Segment 3, I had a Q&A today on WPRI TV in Providence with Yanni Karalis. And so I'll share that. I'll share my appearance on Channel 12 in Providence in the third segment because there's a lot of Q&A about the upcoming Wizards series and things like that. So let's just start with this. Season's over. Celtics, like I said, they beat Minnesota. They lost to New York. The Knick game was actually a lot of fun. The kids did well. Those young guys, the guys that don't play much, did pretty well in this game against New York. Tremont Waters was pretty good. Jabari Parker, who is not a kid by any stretch, did well. Romeo Langford did mostly well, except that foul at the end was very bad. That was a bad play. So for people who didn't see it, the Celtics were down 3-20 by the time the Knicks got the rebound, like 27 or 28 seconds or so. Got the rebound. Celtics had just missed a shot. They had plenty of opportunities to tie that game, to go ahead in that game, but couldn't cash in. All right, that happens. They're not good enough to hit some of those shots. New York gets the rebound. Now, the Celtics are down 3. So with about 30 seconds left, there's a shot clock. There's about six seconds different or so in the shot clock. So the Celtics have the option of defending, trying to force a turnover or trying to force a miss, calling a timeout, setting up a play. So they didn't have to foul. But Romeo Langford, as Brad Stevens is screaming and waving to get back, he thought he heard a foul. You can see him. He has his arms out going, what? And he said, you could read his lips. I thought I heard you say foul. Now he has to understand himself, time, score, situation, which is, it's crazy in there and it's easy to get lost. It's a hard thing to do, but you have to understand we're only down 3. No need to foul, get a stop. And he didn't. And so by fouling, they reset the shot clock. So now it was 24.9 seconds at the time of the foul. Reset the shot clock to 24. Now they have to foul. And Julius Randle made one. That was the end of the game. It's a shame that that kind of mistake, that is something that hurt their chances. But at that point, there's a good chance that they were going to lose that game anyway. Again, they were down 3. So, but that's one of those plays where it's like, if you know the situation, if you know how to play that, and you instinctively know, or you're paying attention, you understand what's happening, then that makes it easier for Brad Stevens to trust you. And Romeo Langford, that's not a play that earns him any trust. So Romeo didn't get any minutes there. Tremont Waters not going to play. It's the same stuff. Well, this was more like for guys like Tremont, even Carson Edwards, Taco, even Luke Cornett. I don't know what Luke Cornett's going to do. He played okay. He missed all of his 3-pointers. He played pretty good defensively. He had 3 block shots. If they want to bring back Luke Cornett for an end of bench option, the Celtics could do worse than Luke Cornett on, a couple $1 million a year or whatever, like super, super cheap. If they keep Tristan Thompson, whatever they do with him, but you got Robert Williams, you want to have a backup center and you want to have a third center just in case. Luke Cornett is an end of bench just in case. That's okay. Or a change of pace guy, if you need a pick and pop guy, aside from the 0 for 5, he could be a guy that sticks around, maybe, but doesn't have to be. Centers, it's very easy to get a center in the NBA. So they were more auditions. Shemi Ojeleye is another guy who is more auditioning for another role somewhere else. Like Tremont's an interesting case because Tremont is, his biggest flaw is that he's small and he can't change that. So he's got to show opposing teams that he knows how to play the game and he can develop with, his size, his all of that stuff. So I thought that, again, Tremont played well, generally speaking. Didn't play so well that anybody watching him would be like, oh, God, we got to get him. But he's done some good things at the NBA level. So maybe a young team will take him and bring him along and develop him. Or a European team or an international team can look at him. I've said this before a million times. Nothing wrong with going over to Spain or Italy or Greece and living a great life, earning more money than you're going to make in the NBA and getting playing time and earning a good living in a great place and working your way back into the NBA. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Guys do that all the time. But I kind of think that's where Tremont, if he wants to, could be heading. If he's willing to see the international game as part of his development rather than sitting on an NBA bench, then he could do that. But at the same time, I can understand you don't want to get out, you don't want to leave the league because it's hard to be in the league and you don't want to leave it. You want to stick around while you can. You only leave it if you have to. So it's going to be interesting to see there. The other interesting thing from this weekend for me was that when the Celtics were falling behind against the Minnesota Timberwolves, that Jason Tatum and Evan Fournier were reinserted, and I asked Brad Stevens about that. So if you missed that game, the Celtics were up by 20. They were just cruising. Fournier and Tatum played. They left with a few minutes to go in the third quarter, maybe 5 or 6 minutes to go in the third quarter, whatever it was. And then they sat for most of the fourth quarter. Like they were done. But then Minnesota started creeping back and and Tatum and Fournier were reinserted. And I was like, well, that's interesting because this doesn't matter. There's no reason to reinsert them. But Brad was like, you know what? We had been playing well. We needed to feel good. We need to get on that plane and see that the stuff that we were working on actually mattered and that it was worth it. And so he put those guys in. They played 2 more minutes, literally like just 2 more minutes, and they pumped that lead back up to 20, and they sat down again. And that was it. That was it. I thought it was interesting. It's an interesting look into the psychology of this team right now. They just need to feel good. They need to have those moments of, yeah, we're good, man. We actually, it's been a rough season, but we're comfortable with how things are going. Once we still have time to put something together here. And they do. That's going to be another thing to talk about. They actually do have time. And I wrote about it on Boston Sports Journal. Like, Brad Stevens after the Knicks game talked about a reset, and they have time to reset. Are they going to? Is that going to work? We'll see. That's going to be something to discuss. I'll probably get into that a little bit more tomorrow. Today, it's about just wrapping up the season and getting a little bit of a discussion here about the Washington Wizards.